My rival and I both ended up in the water. Olivia ignored me and immediately went to help Ethan. After I managed to get myself onto the shore, leaning heavily on my injured leg, I looked at her and said I wanted a divorce. Olivia looked completely surprised. Ethan can't swim. I had to help him first. Are you really making such a huge deal out of this? Our 5-year-old son's face was just as cold. Dad, you're totally fine. Why do you have to be so childish? I raised my hand and slapped Olivia across the face. Then I grabbed my son's cheek, squeezing it, and sneered. Yes, I am. I'm exactly that petty. Olivia's head snapped to the side. When she turned back, her lip was trembling as she struggled to hold back her anger. Liam, please calm down. Finn, who was just a little boy, started crying and thrashing around. No wonder Mom saved Uncle Ethan instead of you. You're a terrible person. You deserved to fall in. I yanked him up by his arm, my bad leg throbbing, and gave him a quick spank on the bottom. That's right. I'm a terrible person. Go ask Ethan to be your new dad. Ethan quickly pushed me away and pulled Finn into a hug, shielding him. Out of Olivia's sight, he gave me a smug, triumphant smile. Liam, he's just a kid. He's only saying things because he's upset. How could you hit him? Hiding in Ethan's arms, Finn screamed, I'm not just upset. I don't want him as my dad. He's so boring. He can't ride a horse or play golf. He's nothing compared to Uncle Ethan. Mom doesn't like him, and I don't like him either. Before Finn could say any more of his true feelings, Olivia quickly interrupted him. Finn, stop it! With that, she stood in front of both of them, like a protector guarding her family. The sobbing child, the kind father-like figure, the beautiful mother. Ha! What a perfect little family. To make matters worse, Ethan continued his subtle digs. What an adorable, well-behaved kid. I could never bring myself to hurt him. You're a pretty cruel father. A slight grin appeared on my face as I glared at him. Say one more word, and I promise the next slap will be on your face. I watched the smile instantly disappear from Ethan's face. I scoffed, leaving the cheating woman, the scumbag, and their little brat on the beach. I turned and walked away. The next day, I gave Olivia the divorce papers. She frowned, pushing her gold-rimmed glasses up her nose. Her face looked worn out. If you go too far with this, it won't be easy to reverse. I'm not going too far. Just sign it. Our money and belongings will be split according to the prenuptial agreement. As for Finn's custody, it's all yours. Finn had inherited Olivia's coldness and lack of kindness, and her lack of love for me. Instead of forcing him to stay with me, it was better to let him go with her. Olivia put the papers down. She looked up at me, her face completely puzzled. Is this all because of what happened yesterday? Ethan can't swim. What was wrong? With me helping him? You were fine. Does it truly have to end in divorce? She acted completely innocent, using yesterday's event to put the blame on me, as if the fact that I didn't die in the water automatically proved her point. She had the moral high ground now. Yesterday, Olivia and I had taken Finn to the beach. Partway through, Olivia left for a short time. And in that brief period, she brought Ethan back with her. She claimed she had run into him by chance and brought him along because he was lonely. Ignoring my unhappy expression, Finn, who was usually quiet and stuck to me, rushed into Ethan's arms with a look of pure delight. Uncle Ethan, it's only been a day, but I missed you so much. It was at that moment I realized Olivia and Ethan had been secretly talking all along. Even worse, she had taken Finn to see him more than once. When I looked at Olivia, her face went pale, and she stammered out an excuse. I just happened to run into Ethan a few times when I was picking Finn up from school. Her obviously untrue excuse made my heart sink. Later, a large wave crashed onto the beach. Ethan and I were both dragged into the water. The tide wasn't high, and the wave wasn't strong enough to pull someone out to sea. It felt like some kind of cruel test of loyalty. It forced Olivia to choose between me and Ethan. She forgot I was her husband. She forgot about the limp I had from the injury I got saving her. Without a second thought, she abandoned me and chose to save Ethan. And now she was asking me if this divorce was really necessary. Of course it was necessary. She and Finn didn't have to love me, but I had to respect myself. I looked her directly in the eye and asked slowly and clearly, "What if I hadn't been fine? What if I couldn't have pulled myself out of those waves with this bad leg? Olivia, the only reason I'm standing here asking for a divorce is because I'm still alive." Olivia's mouth opened, her words coming out faster than her thoughts. "But you are still alive." Before she could finish, she realized her mistake and stopped. She looked away, flustered, and took a deep breath. She was pretending to be reasonable, but her words were a warning. "But if you leave me, you have no parents, no family. Where would you even go?" I smiled and pushed the papers a little closer to her. "That's not your concern. Just sign it. Consider it repayment for me saving your life back then." Olivia was a proud woman. She hated it when I mentioned the fact that I had saved her life. She was also convinced I would never leave her because of our son. She thought I was just throwing a childish fit, but after I brought up saving her life, her face turned to stone. "You always bring that up," she said coldly. "Fine, a divorce it is, but once it's finalized, I won't agree to get back together easily. You can spend some time out there to cool off and think about what you've done." Later, I got the divorce certificate, just as I had wanted. Went back to the house we had lived in for 7 years. It was time to gather my things. The house was enormous and full of possessions, but very little of it was actually mine. I looked around at all the objects, some costly, some beautiful. Finally, I went up to the attic and took out the one thing that was truly mine: my easel. I slung it over my back and walked out of the mansion. At the front gate, I saw Finn standing on the second-floor balcony. His lips were pressed into a thin line, his little face an emotionless mask. He just stood there watching me. He probably expected me to go to him and talk him around, like I always did, to kiss him and say sorry. I stopped and looked back at him one last time. With a gentle sigh, I turned away and spoke to him softly. "Eat well, sleep well. Dad won't be around anymore, so you need to take good care of yourself." Finn's eyes were red as he turned his head away and scoffed. "Just go then. Uncle Ethan will take care of me from now on. I don't need you." I paused for a moment, then said nothing more. As the sun set, I walked away from that mansion with my easel on my back. Finn wasn't always like this. Before Ethan came back, he was a sweet, loving child. When other kids made fun of him because I couldn't ride a horse or play golf, he would always get serious and defend me. So what if he can't? He's my dad, and all that matters is that he loves me enough. That all changed after Ethan returned to the country. After Olivia took him to see Ethan a few times, he became a different person. The boy who had only ever loved me started being embarrassed of my humble background and told me not to pick him up from preschool. When his friends came over to play, he'd tell me to stay hidden and not come home. He even criticized me for not being strong enough when I was grieving on the anniversary of my parents' death. Thinking about it now, he and Olivia truly were alike. They liked the same person, and they hated the same person. They both liked Ethan, and they both hated me. After I realized Olivia didn't love me, I couldn't sleep. I couldn't stand the betrayal, but I couldn't bear to leave Finn. but his hatred for me made my hesitation seem ridiculous. The road out of that exclusive community wasn't long, but it took me 7 years to walk it. Walking down the path in the evening light, my mind went back to the past. 15 years ago, my father died, saving Olivia's father. My mother passed away soon after from sadness and grief. As a young boy, I ended up living with the Whites. Olivia was their only daughter, a spoiled princess who was used to getting her way. But when we were young, she was incredibly kind to me. So kind that I fell completely in love with her. Until she fell for Ethan, and they started dating. That's when I buried my feelings deep inside. Even after she and Ethan broke up, I never imagined being with her again. But then, after I saved her from a car accident, she started pursuing me. With her parents' support, she began to chase after me. She was the girl I had loved for so many years. I couldn't bring myself to reject her. In the end, her persistence won, and we got together. We got married, and later we had Finn. I thought we would be together forever. But Ethan's return destroyed my dream. 3 months ago, I went to pick her up after she'd been drinking. Outside the private room, I heard her friends mention Ethan. "Ethan's back. What are you going to do?" She rested her head on one hand and swirled the red wine in her glass with the other, a helpless smile on her face. "What can I do? I'm already married." Her friends, ever the gossips, kept pushing. "But what if you weren't? You two were so in love back then. You almost died for him." Olivia gave a bitter laugh. "What a stupid thing to say. Oh, right, I forgot. Your husband was the one who saved you, and he ended up with a limp. Yeah, for that alone, you could never betray him." The bitter smile on Olivia's lips felt like a knife in my heart. It stopped me from going in. It was then that I finally understood she had never loved me. All she felt for me was guilt. I had been trapped by her lie for 7 years. Fortunately, it wasn't too late. Under the setting sun, I was finally getting my freedom back. I checked into a hotel I'd found earlier. That evening, I got a call from Olivia's parents. They didn't know that Olivia and I were divorced yet. They warmly asked when I was going to bring Finn over to the family estate for dinner. Thinking of her father's high blood pressure, I swallowed the words I was about to say. I just shook my head and told them I was busy lately. After hanging up, I sent Olivia a text. "Your parents just called and asked when we're coming over for dinner. I covered for us this time, but you should tell them we're divorced as soon as possible." A long time later, she replied, "Got it." I felt I had done all I could. From now on, Olivia was no longer a part of my life. After thinking for a moment, I blocked her number completely. That night, I ran my hand over the easel I'd brought from the mansion. I remembered the wish I'd made as a child, snuggled in my parents' arms. When I grow up, I'm going to be a great painter. My mom and dad had ruffled my hair and smiled lovingly. Yes, our Liam is going to be the best painter in the world. But after I went to live with the Whites, I never picked up a paintbrush again. Back then, Olivia's parents had advised me with a knowing look. "Liam, you should study business. That's what Olivia is studying." I blame my younger self for being so easily convinced, dazzled by a world that wasn't mine. I gave up my dream and walked a path that was never meant for me. And this old, yellowed easel was like my forgotten dream. No matter how much I wiped it, the stains remained. But thankfully, with enough wiping, the stains began to fade. Looking at the noticeably brighter wood, I finally smiled. I found the brushes I'd bought from a small shop that evening, set up a canvas, and tried to sketch out a memory from my childhood. Just as the tip of my brush touched the paper, my phone rang, breaking the moment. The number was familiar. It was Olivia's assistant, Amy. "Mr. Hayes, Ms. White is drunk after a business dinner and is demanding to see you. Is it convenient for you to come and pick her up?" In the past, whenever Olivia got drunk, she'd always make a scene until I came to get her. Her assistant was used to calling me, but now we were divorced. I put down my brush. My voice was quiet but firm. "No, it's not convenient. Your boss and I are divorced. Please don't call me again." Suddenly, I heard the sound of something shattering on the other end of the line. I paused, then continued. "You can look through her contacts. There's a guy named Ethan. He's a much better person to call to pick her up." Just as I was about to hang up, a strange sound came from the other side. The next second, Olivia's hoarse voice, thick with barely hidden anger, came through the receiver. "Liam, are you really finished with me?" I must have been hearing things. After all, a cheater could hardly sound so innocent. I let out a soft laugh, said a casual goodbye to Amy, and hung up. I picked up my paintbrush again, pouring all the chaos in my heart onto the canvas. I went to bed late that night, so when my phone's ringing woke me up, my tone was understandably annoyed. "Who is it? Who's calling this early in the morning?" It was the voice of our old butler, Mr. Henderson. He sounded nervous. "Mr. Hayes, Finn is sick. Ms. White left early this morning, and I can't reach her. Could you please come back and see him?" Hearing that Finn was sick, a wave of panic washed over me. No father can stay calm when he hears his child is ill, even if that child doesn't love him. I froze for a few seconds, then said urgently, "I'm on my way." When I saw him in his room, he was lying alone in bed, looking small and miserable. My heart ached. I went quickly to his bedside and placed my hand on his forehead. "Does it hurt badly?" When Finn saw me, his eyes reddened, and for a fleeting moment, a look of vulnerability crossed his face. But in the next second, he slapped my hand away. He pulled the covers over his head and mumbled, "You already left. Why did you come back? You shouldn't have come back." Finn rarely got sick. Seeing him so weak, the strength I had built up over the last few days instantly crumbled. I sat on the edge of his bed and gently pulled the blanket down a bit so he could breathe easier. I saw his face flushed from the fever, and his red, swollen eyes full of tears. I stared for a second, and regret overwhelmed me. Finn was only 5. What did he really understand? His dislike for me and his closeness to Ethan were all due to Olivia's influence. He was a blank slate. The person he became was shaped by the people around him. Why was I holding a grudge against a 5-year-old child? The more I thought about it, the more I felt I had treated him unfairly. My voice caught. "Finn, Dad is so sorry. I shouldn't have left you. I shouldn't have abandoned you here." That's right. I couldn't leave Finn with Olivia. He was so young. There was still a chance to fix things. The more I thought, the more determined my voice became. I leaned over and hugged him, speaking softly. "Finn, come live with Dad, okay? I'll talk to your mom again about your custody." I could feel Finn's resistance wavering. He even nudged his head against my chest. It was as if the sweet, loving Finn from before had returned. Finn stayed in my arms for a long time before he finally mumbled, "Don't even think about it. You'll never get custody of me." I stroked his head reassuringly, my tone firm. "Dad will trade the money I got from the divorce for you." Finn pushed me away, his red-rimmed eyes meeting mine. He spoke the cruelest words in the most innocent voice. "Dad, don't be naive. With Mom, Uncle Ethan will take care of me. I'll ride in fancy cars and go to a top private school. But with you can't give me anything. Besides, Mom would never let you have me. With me, you can't even escape this house." I was silent for a moment, the words stuck in my throat. Dad will try my best to negotiate with your mom. Finn's small face was tense as he coolly cut off my weak struggle. Dad, I'm not going with you. And you don't belong in this family. You should have stepped aside when Uncle Ethan came back. You should go now and don't come back. I don't want to see you again. My dad will be Uncle Ethan from now on. This wasn't the first time I had heard these words, but they still hurt deeply. With tears in my eyes, I stared in shock at the child I had waited for so long to have. He turned his head away and pointed a small finger at the door. Get out! I don't want to see you again. I didn't move. I just kept looking at him. The next second, the cup on his nightstand flew past my head and shattered at my feet. Crash! A piece of porcelain cut my ankle, and a thin line of blood appeared. As the sharp pain shot through my ankle, my earlier regret felt like a sick joke. Finn wasn't just influenced by Olivia. He was born cold-hearted and uncaring, and he didn't like me. I took 2 steps back and turned to leave his room. On my way out, I ran into Mr. Henderson. He looked at me with concern, then glanced toward Finn's room. Did Finn make you angry again? I shook my head and said in a low voice, No, I made him angry. And Mr. Henderson, please don't call me about him anymore. He doesn't want to see me. With that, I walked away quickly, leaving the butler behind me. From a distance, I thought I heard him say, How could that child not love you? He calls out your name in his dreams. I shook my head. Impossible. He had told me again and again that he didn't need me. On the way back, I looked at the familiar streets. Suddenly, the city felt frighteningly unfamiliar. My phone kept vibrating. It was an unknown number. When I answered, it was Olivia's voice. Liam, Finn is sick. Why didn't you stay with him? I scoffed, a surge of hatred rising in me. Olivia, you got exactly what you wanted. Finn doesn't want me as his father anymore. You must be so proud of yourself right now. Olivia tried to explain, her words tumbling out in a rush. I never meant for that to happen. I just wanted him to not hate Ethan. I lost control and screamed, So you chose to make him hate me instead, is that it? Liam, that's not what I meant. I wanted Finn to accept Ethan so you wouldn't be so hostile toward him. I cut her off with a cold laugh. Olivia, tell me, why should I accept Ethan? Why should I accept the man who destroyed my marriage? Olivia was silent for a long time. So long that I lost the desire to fight with her. I hung up the phone and stared at the trees flashing by outside the window. Suddenly, I didn't want to be in this city anymore. I clutched my phone tightly and spoke to the driver. Sir, do you do long-distance trips? I want to go to Riverwood. It was my parents' hometown. I missed them. I submitted my resignation, went back to the hotel to get my luggage, and headed to Riverwood. I admit I'm a coward. I was afraid that if I stayed, my resolve would weaken, and I would eventually give in for Finn's sake, sinking back into that hopeless darkness. After all, when I was young, I had given up my paintbrushes for a secret crush, and I hadn't picked them up again for over a decade. Sometimes when I felt sad, I would take out my easel and wipe it down, wondering if I should start over. But every time, I was defeated by my busy job and Finn's endless calls of Daddy. Now, after the divorce, those chains were gone. I felt reborn. Maybe I should thank Finn. If he had been more attached to me, I'd probably still be struggling in that darkness. This was the best possible outcome. I would take my easel to Riverwood, and little by little, find the boy I used to be. I rented a small cottage in Riverwood, and began my life alone. Life was bright, like the colors in an oil painting, vibrant and unrestricted. My days were spent outside with my easel, and my nights were spent curled up in my cottage with a book. While painting landscapes, I even made a group of new friends. They were mostly retired men and women, or students from the nearby art school prep classes. We never planned to meet, but we always seemed to run into each other at beautiful spots. Then we would paint together. The turquoise lake, the golden leaves, the magnificent sunsets. At first, my paintings were never good. Whenever someone passed by, I would hide my work, afraid they would laugh at me. But after painting more and more, I lost my fear. You're always making mistakes. Making a mistake isn't scary. What's scary is not having the courage to start over. So now, no matter how unusual my paintings were, could set up my easel with confidence and slowly make corrections. Today's painting of the autumn lake was a perfect example. When I first finished it, I wasn't satisfied. The bright spots weren't bright enough, it lacked contrast, and the elements didn't connect. But I didn't give up on it. I took my brush, and stroke by stroke, worked to transform it into the scene I envisioned. It wasn't until the sun had set that I finally put down my brush, rubbing my sore back with a sense of relief. I stared at the painting and smiled, finally happy. Look at that. He's finished. It's really good, a big improvement over his earlier stuff. At first, I thought the kid had ruined it. I was worried he'd get all shy and hide it like he used to, so I didn't dare look. I can't believe how well it turned out. I looked up. A group of older folks had gathered around me at some point. They were discussing my painting. They praised my progress, teased me about my initial shyness, and encouraged me to keep going. Surrounded by them, I just smiled. They were right. So what if I messed up? The brush in my hand wouldn't stop. It would always follow my heart's desire and fix the painting until it matched my vision. Even if it was difficult, and even if the final result wasn't perfect, I was always moving forward, heading in the direction I wanted to go. My life was just like that, too. Autumn in Riverwood is short. In the blink of an eye, snowflakes began to fall from the sky. It got so cold that everyone went out to paint less often. I started painting at home for my own enjoyment. To record my progress, I started a live stream while I painted without showing my face. I would often talk to myself on the stream. This color doesn't look right, I should use this one. Nice, that makes the composition much better. Hey, the contrast in this one is great. I'm a genius. After streaming for a while, I gained a few hundred followers. They would often pop into my stream to chat with me and listen to me talk. Two usernames in particular became very familiar. One was Lake Whispers, and the other was Little Artist. Lake Whispers was one of my very first followers. Little Artist showed up about a month later. The reason I recognized them was that they loved to send me donations, and nothing I said could stop them. They were my top two supporters. They also seemed to know each other and would often argue in the chat. Lake Whispers was very opinionated, always offering critiques of my work while still praising it. Little Artist was much sweeter. Even when I made a mistake, he would praise my work blindly. So Little Artist often got annoyed by Lake Whispers' critiques. The two of them were constantly bickering. Little Artist: "Can you even paint? Stop being a know-it-all. Nobody likes that." Lake Whispers: "At least I'm not some little kid who can't even spell." Little Artist: "You talk too much. No wonder you don't have a husband." Lake Whispers: "Yeah, well, your dad ran away too." I'd read their chats during my breaks. It was always confusing. But for all their fighting, they were a united front when it came to defending me. When trolls came into the stream to demand I show my face or insult me, the two of them would team up to blast the troublemakers and protect my channel. I didn't start streaming to make money, so I had a pretty casual attitude about it. but I was still touched by their loyalty. To thank them, I offered to send them one of my paintings as a gift. I smiled and told them to send me their addresses, but my direct messages remained stubbornly empty. I figured they had stepped away, so I sent them each a message. Thanks for all your support. If you don't mind, you can leave your head address, and I'll send you one of my favorite recent paintings. They didn't post in the chat for the rest of the day. It wasn't until I was about to end the stream that I received their addresses. Coincidentally, both addresses were the same. And even more coincidentally, they were in the city I had run away from. I stared at their usernames, and a ridiculous thought crossed my mind. Then I couldn't help but laugh. How could it possibly be them? One of them was probably enjoying her newlywed life by now. The other was probably celebrating his new high society stepfather. The next day, I went out into the swirling snow. I went to the local market and bought some famous Riverwood specialties. Then I mailed the gifts and the promised paintings to them. When I got home, I didn't feel like taking a nap. Instead, I started a live stream and set up my easel. I was starting to suspect Lake Whispers didn't have a job. Whenever I went live, she was always the first one there to greet me. Little Artist, on the other hand, was more like a student, usually only showing up at night. I glanced at the stream and responded to Lake Whispers' greeting. I've sent the paintings. You can let Little Artist know. With that, I went back to my work. When I was out today, I saw a happy scene in the snow, a father with a hearty laugh, a mother in a red scarf, and their little bundled-up child holding their hands. It reminded me of my parents and me long ago. At that moment, I knew I had to paint it when I got home. I focused on the canvas, painting the scene from my heart. Ding-dong. The doorbell rang. I frowned, put down my brush, and went to answer it. It was my neighbor, Sarah. She had a gentle smile and a pair of lovely dimples. Mr. Hayes? I saw you had a delivery at the post office. It looked like a bag of rice, so I brought it up for you. I looked at the bag of rice in her hands and remembered the jasmine rice I'd ordered online a few days ago. I thanked her gratefully and was about to take the bag inside. Sarah was very kind and insisted on helping. Where do you want it? I'll carry it inside for you. I smiled a little bashfully and pointed to the kitchen. Afterward, I offered her a glass of water and then grabbed some fruit I'd bought. Today from the fridge, pressing it into her arms and thanking her again and again. Once that was all done, I returned to my easel. As my eyes swept across the screen, I saw it was filled with messages from Lake Whispers. There's a woman in your house. Who is she? What is she doing there? What is she to you? I scrolled through my phone and saw she had sent me a ton of DMs, too. They were all aggressive questions. The last one read, Liam, answer me. Who is she? I blinked. I was now certain of her identity. Lake Whispers was indeed Olivia. And that meant Little Artist must be Finn. I didn't answer her questions. I just ended the stream. I didn't understand what they were trying to do. Surely they couldn't have suddenly realized my worth after I left. If so, that was just pathetic. After that, I didn't stream for several days. I was glad I hadn't put a return address on the package I'd sent. If they were crazy enough to try to find me, it would probably take them a while. But I never expected to see them again so soon. After staying inside for a few days, I decided to go out for some fresh air. When I opened the door, I saw Olivia. She was holding Finn's hand. The two of them, one adult and one child, just stood there staring at me. I poured Finn a glass of hot water and then sat down across from Olivia. I watched her with a cold expression as she looked around the room. Why did you come looking for me? Finn sat on the sofa, holding the glass, his face an emotionless mask. Their expressions made me want to laugh. After confirming there were no other women in the house, Olivia's frown relaxed slightly. She looked at me, her voice soft. Liam, it's been a while. How are you? I frowned. Cut the small talk. Finn's winter break is coming up. He wanted to come see you. Finn was the child I had longed for. Whether he liked me or not, I still had a duty to care for him as a minor. I turned my gaze to Finn and spoke softly. Do you want to stay here with me? Finn took a small sip of water, his face tense as he shook his head. No, Mom made me come. I looked down with a bitter smile, then shot a sarcastic look at Olivia. Don't use your child as an excuse. Olivia's expression soured, her voice turning sharp. Finn, watch your tone. I really couldn't stand watching her scold him. I cut her off with a cold laugh. Can you stop acting? And we're divorced. You shouldn't be bothering me anymore. Olivia's lips trembled, her expression suddenly defeated. Liam, I don't get it. I never cheated on you with Ethan. We were just friends. As for what happened at the lake, I can promise it will never happen again. From now on, I'll always put you first. Why did you still have to divorce me? You used to love me so much. You even got that limp saving me. What happened to you? I let out a slow breath and turned to face her directly. Did you really marry me because you loved me? If you truly loved me, why did you choose to save him first when Ethan and I fell in the water? Why did you take Finn to play with him and keep telling me to just accept him? Olivia, don't you dare use the word love. It's disgusting. As Olivia's face grew paler, I couldn't stop the years of resentment from pouring out. Olivia, yes, I loved you when we were young. But when I risked my life to pull you out of that car, it wasn't to make you feel obligated to me. I would have saved a complete stranger in that situation. But what did you do, Olivia? You didn't love me, but you pretended to, all out of guilt. Did you think you were compensating me? Do you feel like you're the victim here? Olivia stared at me, her eyes bloodshot. That's not true. I love you too. I just realized it too late. I took a deep breath and pointed to the door. That has nothing to do with me anymore. Please stop bothering me. Finn was the first to walk out. At the doorway, he gave me a long look. My heart stirred, and I called out to him, Finn, do you want to stay here for a few days? His eyes were clearly full of longing, but he still refused, his voice firm. No, I don't stay in houses this small. His cold words made the longing I thought I saw in his eyes feel like a delusion. After they left, I leaned against the door and sighed. My feelings a complicated mess. If Finn had stayed, I would have been forced to deal with Olivia again. If it weren't for his repeated cruelty, I would have been trapped forever. After that, I moved a few more times. Olivia still found me. Her family was rich and powerful. To them, my information was probably completely obvious. Once I figured that out, I stopped bothering to move. Instead, I chose to just ignore her. After she sent Finn home, she started shamelessly bothering me. She would often follow me on my walks, talking to herself in a sentimental voice. Liam, we used to walk like this when we were kids. It feels just like old times. When I was invited by my older friends to go paint, she would follow in her car. While I painted, she would stand quietly to the side and watch. After I finished, she would, as usual, reminisce about our childhood. You had an easel just like this on your back when you first came to my house. I thought you loved painting, but then I never saw you paint again. I never expected you to pick it up again after all these years. The old folks would chuckle behind her back and ask me, Liam, is this your girlfriend? I would shake my head and say seriously, No, she's my ex-wife. We're divorced. She's harassing me. Then I would tell them the whole story of our divorce. The old folks were angry on my behalf. The next time Olivia followed me out to paint, They ganged up and formed a human wall between her and me. They gave her dirty looks and made it clear she wasn't welcome. I was touched, but I told them they didn't have to do that. She'll be leaving soon anyway. It's not necessary. Besides, I've already moved on. I was right. Olivia did leave soon after. Urgent business at her company called her back. Before she left, she looked at me seriously and made a promise. "I'll come back for you as soon as I'm done with this. I love you." I just smiled and said nothing. No matter how many times she came back, I would never go back to her. Her late-blooming love was like spoiled milk to me, so rotten it made me sick. Later, just as she'd said, she came looking for me a few more times, bringing Finn with her. She even tried to use Finn to get me to reconcile with her. Can you really bear to see Finn grow up in a single-parent home? You love him so much, why not give him the best? But her early brainwashing of Finn had been too effective. Finn just rolled his eyes and said coldly, "Mom, you can marry Uncle Ethan or someone else to be my dad." As Olivia glared at Finn, I couldn't help but let out a soft laugh. Then I closed the door, leaving them outside. After Finn ruined her plans a few more times, Olivia stopped bringing him along. She traveled back and forth between Riverwood and New York by herself. She would go on and on about her apologies and her love for me. I was unmoved. Sometimes I even found it funny. Over time, her visits became less frequent, until the 5th year when she suddenly stopped coming altogether. Maybe she finally got tired of it, but it didn't matter to me. By then, I had become a reasonably well-known oil painter in the country, and I had started dating my former neighbor, Sarah. And after I decided to marry Sarah, Finn showed up out of the blue. He was 12 by then, like a little adult. He handed me a bouquet of red roses, his eyes deep and dark. "Dad, I wish you happiness and success from now on." With that, he pushed the flowers into my arms, turned, and walked away without looking back. Watching him go, I held my girlfriend's hand, a little stunned. I haven't seen him in so long. He seems to have grown up a lot. My girlfriend patted my hand reassuringly. "Yes, time flies, doesn't it?" Later on, my wedding day, I saw Finn again. I had invited him, but he hadn't said yes or no. I thought he wouldn't come. But that day, he showed up in a little black suit and presented us with our rings just before we exchanged them. Finn leaned close to my bride's ear and whispered a threat. "Anyone who hurts my dad meets a bad end. The last one is lying in a hospital bed. You better watch yourself." My bride quickly shook her head and promised him, "I will always love him and protect him. I swear on my life." I turned to look at Finn. His face was serious, his eyes red as he fiercely warned someone else not to bully me. Tears streamed down my face. Maybe Finn had never truly hated me. After all, at 5 years old, he had loved me so much. Perhaps his love was a kind of freedom. Olivia's story. 7 years into our marriage, Ethan came back. I admit I was a little shaken. He was, after all, the great love of my youth. But I never thought about leaving Liam. But then, after I instinctively saved Ethan first when we fell in the water, Liam asked for a divorce. I panicked for a moment. But then I remembered he had nowhere else to go, and I felt relieved. He had loved me for so many years. He could never leave me. And besides, there was Finn. That was his beloved son. After Finn was born, even I had to take a back seat. So I was sure he was just angry, and would get over it in a little while. He would never leave me and Finn. But this time, I gambled and lost. Liam really was finished with me. He didn't even want Finn anymore. I got drunk and called him, telling him to come pick me up. I thought that after a few days, he must have calmed down. He would definitely take this chance to make up. But he didn't. He kept repeating that we were divorced. A cold fear washed over me, the feeling of things spinning out of my control. I went home that night in a daze. In the living room, I saw Finn playing with the Rubik's Cube Liam had bought him. When he saw me, he looked up, gave me a cold glance, and then looked back down. In that moment, an idea came to me. That night, I took away Finn's blanket. The next day, as expected, he had a cold. I didn't believe Liam could abandon a sick Finn. He would definitely come. I excitedly had Mr. Henderson call him. To make sure Liam wouldn't get angry seeing me, I even left the house. Before I left, I told Finn to make Liam stay. Finn looked up, his face flushed with fever, and gave a silent, I left satisfied. I thought it wouldn't be long before Liam came back begging me to remarry him for Finn's sake, but I had miscalculated again. Liam didn't come back. He left the city and went to his parents' hometown. I finally realized that I might really be losing him. Later, I had a private investigator find his address. I discovered he had taken up oil painting. He had started making his own friends. He even had a live stream. I foolishly thought that maybe after he had some time to himself, he would come back. So I watched his live stream every day. When Finn found out, he started watching every night too. I figured he must have been thinking the same thing as me. He wanted Liam back too. After all, Liam wasn't just mad at me. Otherwise, how could Finn have failed to convince him to stay? I was like the foolish farmer waiting for the rabbit, hoping he would have a change of heart. I thought I had enough patience. But when I heard a young woman's voice on his stream, I realized I couldn't stand it. I flew into a rage, demanding to know who she was. What was her relationship to him? Liam ignored me and just shut down the stream. He must have known it was me. Even worse, he still hadn't forgiven me. I realized I couldn't just sit and wait anymore. I bought a plane ticket and dragged Finn with me to Riverwood. On the plane, I drilled Finn on how to convince his father to stay. Finn just looked at me with a cold smile and shook his head. I grabbed his shoulders and demanded, "Don't you want your father to be with you as you grow up?" Finn looked out at the clouds, his voice young but chillingly calm. "You're not good to him. I'd rather he be free than stay by my side." I froze, my eyes wide with disbelief. Impossible! He can only be mine! Finn was incredibly smart and had his own opinions from a young age. He stared at me coldly. "Give up. He lost all hope in you a long time ago, and I won't help you trap him." Later, we saw Liam. Just as Finn had predicted, Liam rejected me, and Finn kept his word. He didn't try to convince Liam to come home. In fact, he used hurtful words to push him even further away. I refused to let go. I harassed him relentlessly, but he treated me like I was invisible. Until the 5th year after our divorce, I couldn't keep chasing him anymore. I got very, very sick. Finn stood by my bed and sneered, telling me I deserved it. I struggled to sit up in my hospital bed and stared at him for a long time. "Did you deliberately make him angry back then so he would have no reason to stay with us?" Finn was only 10, but he was wise beyond his years. He glanced at me, his voice thin and cold. 5 years ago, after that man came back, Dad was in so much pain. He looked haggard for a long time. I loved him so much. Since he wanted to leave, I decided to let him go without any burdens. You're right, I did it on purpose. But didn't it all start with you? Looking at his mature face, I was stunned. So that was why Finn's personality had changed so suddenly. He had always been so attached to Liam, loving him and clinging to him. How could a few words from an outsider make him hate his father and be so cruel? It all made sense now. He did it so Liam could leave without any guilt. as a sharp pain pierced my heart. I couldn't help but taunt him. "But you lost him too." Finn suddenly smiled, a sweet smile he only ever showed Liam. "As long as he's happy. By the way, I have some good news for you. He's getting married soon. He invited me to his wedding." "The patient's heart rate is abnormal. What did you say to upset her? Get out now, she needs emergency care." In the chaos, I saw doctors and nurses rushing toward me out of the corner of my eye. After being scolded, Finn calmly walked out of the room. And then I couldn't hear or see anything. An endless darkness and silence washed over me. I was finally starting to regret it. If I could go back to the beginning, I would have saved Liam first. Then he would never have left me, would he? Finn's story. Olivia died when I was 15. After she died, with my grandfather's help, I slowly took over the company. Once I was in control, I went after Ethan. The man who had broken my father's heart came begging me for mercy. He kept talking about our childhood connection, asking me to spare him. What connection did we have? The one where he made my father miserable? The one that forced me to leave my father? I shook my head coldly and hit the Ethan family's business even harder. Eventually, his company went bankrupt, and I took it over. When I learned Ethan was hundreds of millions of dollars in debt, I mercifully let him stay at the company to work it off. I even made sure to promote the employees he had once bullied to be his bosses. But he couldn't take it for more than a few years and killed himself. Tsk! How boring. To be honest, learning to run a company was difficult. But if I didn't learn, I couldn't protect my dad. I wanted to give my dad the best of everything. I pushed him away back then so he could be happy. I study hard now to guarantee his happiness, so that if his current wife ever hurts him the way Olivia did, I can use everything I have to give him a safe harbor. Instead of being like I was as a child, pretending to be cold and making him leave heartbroken. After all, he loved me so much back then. Now that I'm grown up, I can't let him be sad again.